In Dracula's grand hall, Vlad stood before his generals, his deep voice resonating through the room. He praised their progress, declaring their strategy to unleash the night hordes was succeeding. As he finished, he turned to Hector and Isaac, the only humans in the room. "Present your plans for our next steps," he commanded. Godbrand, a brash vampire, erupted. "Why do humans lead our plans?" he demanded. Dracula's calm reply silenced the room. "These two are not driven by thirst like the rest of you. They focus on wiping humanity from existence. That is why they stand with me." Later, in Dracula's study, Hector and Isaac asked the same question. "Why us?" Dracula explained. "Vampires see humans as livestock, incapable of thought. You, however, understand their schemes and betrayals. That is why humanity must die and why I chose you." Hector nodded, grateful but concerned. "I only hope the others will listen." Dracula reassured them. "They obey me, and I have made you the architects of this war." As they left, Hector stared into the flames, haunted by memories of his abusive parents and their screams as he burned them alive. Isaac placed a comforting hand on Dracula's shoulder. "It's going to be all right." Dracula's reply was cold. "Only death matters." Meanwhile, Sypha waved goodbye to her people, masking her sadness. Trevor, noticing her fear, struggled to comfort her. "I got used to being alone," he admitted as they walked back to the abandoned speaker hideout. In the quiet, Alucard drew a portrait of his parents. A tear smudged his mother's face. "I will no longer be Adrian Tepesh," he whispered. "I am Alucard of Wallachia." Back in the forge, Hector played with his resurrected puppy, Caesar. Godbrand entered, apologizing for his earlier outburst but voicing concerns about the war's chaos. Their conversation was interrupted by robed figures delivering corpses for Hector's work. As he began reanimating the dead into night creatures, the castle trembled. In the control room, Dracula waved his hand, activating a floating device. The castle groaned and vanished, teleporting to an isolated valley. As Belmont argued with Sypha about his ability to be nice, they approached Alucard, who informed them of Dracula's ability to move his castle at will. They pondered how to trap it, and Belmont suggested seeking his family's old home. Though destroyed by villagers, its underground library was rumored to hold knowledge that could help kill Dracula. Sypha and Alucard agreed. "Good thing I didn't eat you earlier," Alucard teased. "And good thing I didn't turn you into shoes," Belmont shot back. Sypha left to fetch a wagon and horses, and they set off. At Dracula's castle, tension gripped the War Council with the arrival of Carmilla. She remarked on the chaos and questioned Dracula's judgment, particularly why his late wife was never turned into a vampire. The room grew cold as Dracula's eyes burned red. He demanded to speak with her alone. On the road, Sypha asked Alucard about his resistance to sunlight. He explained it was due to his human heritage and shared the story of his parents. His mother had demanded Dracula teach her medicine, and though Dracula held immense knowledge, her death shattered him. Alucard described the dark world his father sought to create, with skies shrouded in permanent darkness for vampires to rule. Their conversation was interrupted by attacking creatures, which they quickly dispatched, though one escaped. In the castle, Isaac recalled his brutal childhood before being interrupted by Godbrand. A wounded creature from Arges revealed troubling news. An unknown warrior had attacked. At the council, Carmilla argued to target Braila, a key river port, instead of Arges. Isaac disagreed, but the discovery of a living Belmont and Alucard nearby led Carmilla to insist they watch the Belmont estate. Smirking, she declared, "This is your war council, my lord." Hector, deep in thought about his childhood, was working in the forge when Carmilla joined him. Admiring his mastery of forging, something no vampire could do, she remarked on his unease about Dracula. "He's never been indecisive before," she said, suggesting they act without his approval. Hector hesitated, but Carmilla proposed sending a small group to the Belmont home. She emphasized the need to keep its tools and knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. Though logical, Hector insisted on Dracula's permission. When asked how he met Dracula, Hector recounted how Vlad sought him out after hearing of his abilities. Following the death of his wife, Dracula returned to enlist Hector's help in culling humanity. Hector agreed on the condition they stopped short of genocide, wanting humans to live mercifully as livestock. Carmilla, intrigued, pressed him to forge troops to aid her plans for attacking Braila. Meanwhile, in the wagon, Alucard asked Trevor about his past. Trevor revealed he was 14 when his family home was destroyed. When they arrived at the sealed entrance, Saifa recited an incantation to open it. Inside, they found a library filled with generations of Belmont knowledge and artifacts. Trevor's eyes caught a treasure chest containing the legendary Morningstar whip. "Beautiful," he whispered. Alucard, meanwhile, viewed the room as a museum dedicated to exterminating his kind. At Dracula's castle, Godbrand confronted Dracula, questioning their future without humans. Dracula loomed over him, warning him not to question his authority. Shaken, Godbrand left and ran into Carmilla. He voiced his fears that Dracula wasn't fighting a war, but seeking his own end. Carmilla refocused his anger, sharing her story of the vampire who turned her and reiterating her insistence on targeting Braila. Godbrand, thirstier than ever, dreamt of his earlier days of brutal human slaughter. Waking to the disappointment of being offered only pig's blood, his frustration deepened. Reluctantly, he admitted to himself that Carmilla might be right about Dracula's failing leadership. At the Belmont hold, Trevor uncovered a broken mirror. Alucard and Saifa identified it as a distance mirror, capable of remote viewing. Alucard examined it, confident it could be repaired. Meanwhile, Saifa asked Trevor about his name. He revealed it was inspired by Trevor, a horse ridden by Leon Belmont, his ancestor. In Dracula's castle, Carmilla continued her manipulations, attempting to turn Hector against Dracula. Though Hector initially defended his master, she planted seeds of doubt, warning that Dracula's genocidal fury might lead to Hector's own demise. Carmilla twisted his resolve, convincing him to take her side. She tasked him with aiding her in secret. Isaac, meanwhile, recalled Dracula visiting him a year earlier. At the time, Isaac was being hunted by magicians eager to exploit his body for their spells. Dracula had saved him, the first person to ever protect him. When Dracula asked for Isaac's help raising an army, he admitted it wasn't for a war. It was for the extermination of humanity. Touched by Dracula's honesty, Isaac pledged loyalty. Now Dracula confided in Isaac again, revealing his doubts about the growing discord in his war council. He admitted Isaac was the only one he trusted, his last true friend. While Dracula faced betrayal, Godbrand, fed up with pig's blood, led a hunt to a nearby town, slaughtering humans to satisfy his thirst. Returning, he confronted Isaac, suggesting they take control from Dracula. Without hesitation, Isaac killed him, thanking the mangled body for exposing the corruption creeping into Dracula's court. Outside Dracula's castle, Hector basked in the warmth of the sun, while Isaac praised the cold, unyielding stone of the castle. As they walked to find a secluded spot to speak freely, Hector mused that vampires were like animals, pure and without malice. The two discussed their struggles to draft a coherent war plan amid the infighting and Dracula's indifference. Isaac interrupted, questioning. "What indifference?" Hector clarified. "He doesn't care how we fail him by not asserting moral order in this war." Isaac was skeptical when Hector proposed convincing Dracula to attack Braila, suspecting the plan was meant to please Carmilla. However, he conceded that it might unify the war council and prevent further mischief. With mutual agreement, they returned to the castle. Isaac visited Dracula, warning of growing frustration and potential betrayal among the troops. He explained Hector's desire to stop the infighting by attacking Braila, insisting Hector was loyal but disheartened by the chaos. Isaac recommended the move to quiet discord. Exhausted, Dracula agreed. Later, Hector and Carmilla presented their case in the war room. Isaac voiced support, and Dracula, weary of petty decisions, approved the plan. Afterward, Carmilla smugly told Hector why she had to take control. "I'm surrounded by children, animals, and dying old men. Even the few women here are sidelined by posturing fools." Hector, insulted, asked, "Child or animal, which am I?" With a smirk, Carmilla replied, "Puppy, somewhere between the two." She revealed he was now implicated, so she no longer needed to feign respect for a mere human. Meanwhile, at the Belmont hold, Saifa excitedly called Trevor to share her discovery, a partially written locking spell that could freeze Dracula's castle in one location. Though incomplete, she was confident she could finish it, setting their plan in motion. The ground shook violently as demonic creatures battered the entrance to the Belmont hold. One struck the stone with a magic spear, weakening it, and a larger beast pounded it open. Inside, Belmont hesitated until Alucard snapped him to action. Belmont quickly assigned tasks. Alucard was to get the distance mirror working to locate Dracula's castle, Saifa would focus on the locking spell, and Belmont would fortify their entry point. The creatures broke through, and Belmont engaged them in fierce combat, while Alucard located Dracula's castle just before it disappeared. Moments later, it reappeared in Braila, its arrival unleashing destructive shockwaves through the town. In Braila, Carmilla advanced her betrayal. Using the bishop's reanimated corpse, she had the river blessed, turning it into holy water. Her forces destroyed bridges, plunging much of Dracula's army into the water and killing them. As her troops laid new bridges to invade the castle, she urged Hector to flee with her, reminding him of his betrayal and isolating him further. Back at the hold, Belmont fought to protect Sypha and Alucard. He killed a massive creature with its own spear just as Sypha joined Alucard at the mirror. Combining her magic with the mirror, she began pulling Dracula's castle toward them. In Braila, Carmilla's forces breached the castle, but Isaac fought back and rushed to warn Dracula of the betrayal. Dracula, recognizing Carmilla's forces, seethed with rage. Sypha's magic strained against the castle's defenses until Alucard explained the engine countering her spell, and Sypha finally succeeded, displacing the castle in and out of Braila. Holy water flooded the town and castle, killing Carmilla's troops before the castle vanished. Sypha celebrated until Alucard asked where she landed it. Her face fell. Right on top of us. As the staircase crumbled, Sypha raised an icy column, lifting her, Trevor, and Alucard to the surface. They headed toward Dracula's castle, where remnants of Carmilla's and Dracula's forces still clashed. The fighting stopped when the creatures spotted them, and at Belmont's command, the trio attacked. Alucard transformed into a white wolf. Trevor wielded the Morning Star, and Sypha launched spikes of ice, creating pillars to assist Belmont's leaps. Another wave of enemies approached. Inside, Isaac saw Alucard and warned Dracula. Standing in the study, Isaac vowed to give his life for Dracula's cause, but Dracula, valuing Isaac's loyalty, threw him through a magic mirror, sending him to safety in a distant desert. As Dracula turned, he saw Alucard in the doorway. "This war ends in the name of my mother," Alucard declared. "It endures in the name of my wife," Dracula retorted. The battle began. Sypha and Trevor joined Alucard, but Dracula's power was overwhelming. Swatting them aside, Dracula nearly killed Belmont before Sypha's flames and Alucard's sword slowed him. A brutal exchange left Dracula wounded but still fighting. Enraged, Dracula declared himself unstoppable, launching a massive fiery sphere. Together, the trio repelled the attack, sending the explosion back into Dracula, blasting him and Alucard into another room. Father and son clashed again, Dracula overpowering Alucard until their fight brought them to Alucard's childhood room. Seeing the familiar decorations, Dracula faltered, his rage giving way to sorrow. "I'm killing my boy," he whispered, breaking into sobs. As he mourned his dead wife and the man he had become, Alucard drove a stake into his heart. Dracula, turning to ash, stumbled toward his son before Trevor severed his burning head. Sypha confirmed the death with flame. Alucard grieved, but Trevor and Sypha reassured him. "You saved countless lives," Sypha said softly. "It's all right to mourn him too." After Dracula's death, the trio explored the now-abandoned castle. For Alucard, the halls stirred childhood memories. Sypha asked Trevor what he thought Alucard would do now. Overhearing, Alucard admitted he had planned to return to sleep in Gresset, but it felt wrong to abandon his father's work. "It'd be nothing but a grave to be robbed," he said. Trevor disagreed. "The castle can't move now. Sypha broke it. It's stuck above the Belmont hold. Your father's knowledge above, my family's below. Make it your home, not a grave. Be its last defender." Alucard nodded, accepting the duty. Elsewhere, Isaac began raising a new army of demons from the bandits who had tried to capture and sell him. Meanwhile, Sypha told Trevor she planned to rejoin her caravan to share her story, but was unsure of her future. Trevor encouraged her to return to her old life, but she hesitated, recounting the adventures they'd shared. "I don't want to stop," she confessed, "and it's good for you too." She pointed out how Trevor had rediscovered himself, grown, and found purpose. Trevor admitted, "This is the closest thing I've had to a life. You're the closest thing I've had to a friend in a long time." Sypha held out her hand, and Trevor took it, agreeing to join her. She suggested visiting her people before heading to Braila. In Braila, Carmilla informed Hector of Dracula's death. Her men collared him in chains as she revealed her plan to return to Styria, seize power, and use Hector's skills to raise a horde. When Hector refused, Carmilla savagely beat him into submission, forcing him to walk behind her horse. Before Trevor and Sypha left, Alucard warned Sypha to keep Trevor out of trouble. Waving goodbye, Alucard flipped Trevor off, earning a hearty laugh.